When someone you care about suddenly begins to ignore you, the silence can feel louder than words. It shakes your confidence, makes you question your worth, and tempts you into desperate actions just to regain their attention. But what if the strongest response is not to chase them at all? What if the key to drawing people back lies in becoming so grounded, composed, and self-sufficient that their return becomes almost inevitable? This is where Stoic philosophy offers a timeless roadmap, not for manipulation, but for cultivating an inner strength that transforms how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Making those who ignore you come forward and return through Stoic philosophy. To be ignored or cast aside by someone you value is one of the most distressing experiences in human relationships. Whether it happens in a friendship, or romantic connection, or even at work, silence can feel more painful than outright conflict. It is tempting to want to chase those who ignore you, plead for their attention, or manipulate them to come back. Yet, often, those strategies only deepen the sense of rejection and diminish one's dignity. Stoic philosophy, however, offers a radically different path. By reframing how we understand relationships, attention, and self-worth, Stoicism helps a person cultivate the kind of character, presence, and inner peace that naturally draws others forward, even those who once ignored them. Rather than forcing someone back through desperate action, Stoicism teaches us to live with integrity and wisdom, and as a result, people are more likely to return on their own accord. This essay will explore how to apply Stoic philosophy to the dynamics of being ignored, and how by using its principles you can live in such a way that either those who ignore you come forward again, or their absence ceases to trouble you at all. The desired result is inner freedom, and ironically, that very freedom often pulls others back to you. The Stoic foundation: control and acceptance. At the heart of Stoicism lies a simple but transformative distinction: the difference between what is within your control and what is not. Epictetus famously began his Enchiridion with the premise that some things are up to us, our judgments, decisions, desires, and actions, while others, the actions, thoughts, and choices of others, are not. When someone ignores us, the first and most crucial realization is that their behavior is not under our control. No amount of pleading, anger, or self-torment can force another person to pay attention. Yet what is within our control is how we interpret their silence, whether we continue to live well in their absence, and how we choose to respond. This is the cornerstone of using Stoic wisdom in relationships. You do not chase what is not yours to govern. Instead, you act within your realm of agency, and in so doing you create the highest possibility that others will recognize and gravitate toward your strength. Why being ignored hurts so deeply? Before turning to practical Stoic strategies, it is important to understand why being ignored causes such distress. Humans are inherently social beings. From infancy, attention signals safety, belonging, and love. When ignored, the brain can interpret it as social death, remnants of survival instincts in which exclusion meant danger. Yet Stoicism argues that our suffering in such moments comes not from the mere fact of being ignored but from our judgments about it. For example, if they ignore me, it means I am worthless. If they do not return, I will never be happy. Their silence proves I failed. These judgments give rise to anguish. Stoicism teaches us to examine the impressions that rush into our minds and ask whether they reflect truth or illusion. Being ignored may mean nothing about your worth or future happiness. It might simply reflect the other person's inner conflicts, distractions, or values. Thus, the pain of being ignored is real, but its intensity is magnified by false judgments we add to the situation. Correcting those judgments is the first step toward freedom. The Stoic reframe: you do not need another's attention. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself that a good life is not defined by applause, recognition, or whether others notice one's deeds. He stressed that to live according to virtue is enough. To desire constant attention from others, he argued, is to hand over control of one's happiness. When ignored, the natural desire is to restore that lost attention. But Stoicism insists we need none of it. What we need is alignment with virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. If another person's silence causes us to feel hollow, we must ask, are we mistaking their attention for the source of our value? True value arises from living rightly, not from being seen. Ironically, those who stop clinging to attention often exude the kind of calm presence that makes others want to notice them again. Silence meets silence, dignity meets dignity. When someone sees you flourishing without needing them, it often disrupts their indifference. Thus, the Stoic reframe is not abandonment of relationships, but recovery of dignity that makes reconnection more likely. Practical Stoic steps to handle being ignored. Now we can move from principles to practices. Stoic exercises are not abstract but designed for daily application. The following practices create the kind of equanimity and strength that naturally encourages others to step forward and re-engage. 1. Separate facts from judgments. When ignored, write down the facts versus your interpretations. Example. Fact: they have not replied to my message in 3 days. Judgment: they do not care about me. By separating the two, you reclaim clarity. The more you recognize judgments as opinions rather than facts, the less grip another's behavior has on your peace. 2. Practice negative visualization. Stoics often imagine losing what they valued, a friend's companionship, a lover's affection, even their own health, as a way to prepare the mind. By acknowledging the impermanence of relationships, you reduce shock when silence or loss arrives. This doesn't make you cold or detached, but it equips you to handle separation with composure. And often, when you show such composure rather than desperation, those who ignore you suddenly rediscover interest. 3. Focus on self-mastery. Epictetus taught that no person can make progress if they redirect all attention toward the whims of others. Instead, you should refine your own soul. Use time of being ignored to improve skills and knowledge. Strengthen your body through training. Deepen your character by practicing honesty, courage, and moderation. The better you govern yourself, the more magnetic your presence becomes to others. People ignore the needy but are drawn to the strong. 4. Respond with dignity, not desperation. If being ignored prompts a reply from you, let it be calm. A short, respectful message without bitterness can often be more powerful than paragraphs of pleading. For example, I noticed you've been quiet. I respect your space, and if you'd like to talk again, I'll be here. Stoicism is not silence for its own sake, it is appropriate action ruled by reason, not by passion. Respond once with dignity, then continue your life regardless of the outcome. 5. Detach identity from relationship outcomes. A key Stoic reminder is that you are not diminished when someone else withdraws. Your worth remains intact because it is rooted in virtue rather than external approval. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it." Thus, if a person returns after ignoring you, it does not define you. If they never return, it likewise does not define you. Your identity stands independent, and with such confidence, people often feel compelled to reconnect, making them come forward without forcing. Now to the heart of the question, how do we make those who ignore us come forward again? Stoicism reminds us, we cannot directly control this outcome. What we can control is becoming the kind of person worth returning to. Here are the channels through which Stoicism indirectly facilitates return. A calm presence. When you show poise despite being ignored, it contrasts with the usual reactions of anger or pleading. This composure intrigues people. Self-improvement. By flourishing in silence, you show that their absence does not cripple you. That often sparks curiosity or regret. Respectful boundaries. Showing respect for the autonomy of the other person communicates strength. People are drawn to those who honor freedom rather than demand attention. Consistency in virtue. Continuing to live honestly, kindly, and courageously, even toward those who ignore you, plants seeds of admiration. Eventually, admiration draws them back. Thus, rather than manipulation, Stoicism makes you magnetic through integrity. When they do not return. But Stoicism also prepares us for the case that they do not come back. A Stoic does not base peace of mind on external conditions. If they remain silent, you still thrive. In fact, the more you embody this truth, the more paradoxical the results. You cease clinging, and others often feel gravity toward your independence. Whether they return or not, you win, because you gain peace and freedom regardless. Historical Stoic lessons on relationships. Several Stoic philosophers provide examples applicable to being ignored. Epictetus taught detachment from the whims of others, focusing instead on discipline of thought and behavior. His emphasis on self-rule makes his advice timeless for handling indifference. Seneca wrote letters advising friends not to place happiness in hands of external things, including reputation or others' responses. His reminders reduced the sting of silence. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, he was ignored, opposed, and criticized even while holding immense power. His meditations helped him accept that attention or silence from others matters little compared to living according to reason. Their wisdom shows that whether we rule an empire or live in ordinary circumstances, the principle is the same. Others may ignore, but one must not ignore the self. Modern applications of Stoic wisdom. In modern life, being ignored manifests not just in relationships but across digital communication. Texts left unanswered, social media silence, or colleagues not acknowledging effort can all trigger discomfort. Applying Stoicism in such contexts looks like sending one respectful follow-up rather than multiple desperate messages. Using unacknowledged silence as space for personal growth rather than rumination. Practicing gratitude for those who do respond rather than clinging to those who don't. Most importantly, align your identity with your principles, not with the fleeting recognition of modern attention economies. When others finally come back. If those who ignored you come forward again, Stoicism also guides you not to respond with bitterness or arrogance. The virtue of justice means treating others fairly, even if they once neglected you. The virtue of wisdom means discerning whether their return is genuine or temporary. Rather than saying, "Now you finally came back," consider responding with equanimity, "I'm glad to see you again." Such a calm reception preserves dignity and demonstrates you were never enslaved to their silence. This balance, welcoming without clinging, forgiving without naivete, creates more stable and respectful relationships going forward. The paradox of Stoic attraction. The paradox is clear: those who ignore you are most likely to come back when you no longer need them to. When you embody Stoic detachment, composure, and consistent virtue, you radiate strength. Strength draws attention. But because you no longer depend on that attention, you meet it with grace rather than hunger. This creates a virtuous cycle. Thus, Stoicism does not offer tricks to manipulate people back into your life. It offers a way of being that either draws them naturally or renders their absence irrelevant. A step-by-step Stoic roadmap. To summarize and embed the practices into daily life. Recognize what is within your control, your judgments, actions, and relinquish the rest. Reframe the meaning of being ignored, refuse false judgments about your worth. Engage in self-mastery, train body, mind, and character in silence. Respond once with dignity, offer space rather than chase. Detach identity from outcome, your worth is unshaken by their return or absence. Continue to live virtuously, justice, courage, wisdom, temperance each day. Welcome return without clinging. If they come back, respond fairly, not bitterly. With time, this process not only protects you from pain but turns you into a figure of strength others wish to be near. Final reflection. To make those who ignore you come forward again, the Stoic does not beg, manipulate, or despair. The Stoic instead looks inward, practices self-mastery, lives in accordance with virtue, and accepts what cannot be controlled. From that soil grows dignity, composure, and resilience, the very qualities that often draw others back without force. And if they never return? Then Stoicism has already given you the greatest victory: freedom from dependency on their attention and peace in the sovereignty of your own soul. In this way, through living as a Stoic, you cannot lose.